Welcome back. Recently, Council Member Althea Stevens had her first State of the District address at the new Settlement Community Center. This year's theme, Public Safety is More Than Just Policing, will highlight the council members' continued advocacy for housing, education, and community investments that create a safer and more prosperous District 16. Councilmember Althea Stevens joins us now to further discuss this matter. Thank you so much for joining us,
No,
Councilmember.
thank you for having me, and thank you for all the support that you guys always give me, and even being at the State of the District, it meant a lot.
Yeah, I talk about, obviously, as a reporter, I always see you out, in these streets, in the field, just doing the work. So it's beautiful to have you, obviously, in here. Now, talk to me. You had your first State of the District address. Why was it important to have this address and its importance for the community as well?
It's interesting because I said this at the end of my address that for 3 years I just had my head down doing the work. And I think it's also important for us to take a step back to reflect on how much we've accomplished in these last 3 years, and also thinking about what's next for the borough, what's next for the district. And so for me, it was eye-opening around some of the things that I've done, and to be able to kind of lay it out. And so as we were putting it together, to see how much investment we were bringing back into the district, how much legislation we're passing, and all of this is to support what we're doing in the district. And so I thought that it was important that we share our accomplishments and talk about it, and also have people understand that this work isn't done just by me. It's done with so many different people who are supporting me and so many things that's going on, and also trying to get more people involved in the work that we're doing.
Yeah. Now, of course, as you reflect and even chose the theme, which is public safety is more than just policing, talk to me about what made you decide on that theme and what it means for District 16.
Well, honestly, I say it in my address that we have a lot of issues around public safety, right? We have high numbers of gun violence and theft and all these things. And for me, it's thinking about how do we make sure that we as a community are coming up with the solutions. Also often, people are saying like, oh, we just need more cops, we need more cops, but that's not the answer. I really want people to understand that we have to keep each other safe, and the cops are part of the solution, but they are not the solution. We are the solution. And so thinking about if we are fighting to get investments in things like education, workforce development, and housing, and people feel stable in the community, that will help alleviate some of the public safety issues that we see. And so how do we collectively fight for these things so we can transform our community?
Yeah, now, of course, when you talk about even that funding, that investment in the community, I mean, something that you mentioned at the State of the District address was 61.4 million funded throughout your 3 years so far, right?
Yeah, I was blown away by that number myself. And I remember when I first read it, I was just like, wait, what? One, I think that it is a huge accomplishment, but two, the Bronx and District 16 has not been invested in like this before. And we're just trying to play catch up at this point to get what we deserve anyway. This is things that we should have been getting: investments in schools. I've been having, for the last 3 years, I've been pushing my principals to dream big and think about how do we transform our schools to be beautiful, so when young people walk in, they can feel proud and excited about being in those buildings, working with, housing development to do preservation. I funded preservation to upgrade some of the apartment buildings that's been in the district, because we're always talking about new housing, but we're never talking about the preservation of what we also have, which is just as important. One of my biggest accomplishments is being able to work with the borough president and the speaker to get $10 million to upgrade the Taft Campus Center that hadn't been done. And I remember it was such a big accomplishment because I remember when I first did my tour at Taft Campus, they were having a barbecue, and I was like, the field looks crazy. And I was like, yeah, it's one of the things that we've been trying to get fixed. And I was like, well, you didn't request money for this. And they was like, because it's so much. And I was like, it doesn't matter, let's figure this out. And we were able to get that funded, and it's supposed to be finished this year. So hopefully by the end of this school year, we'll have a fully redone field for the Taft campus, which houses over 8 schools. And so it's going to not only be transformative for those students, but for the community.
Yeah, you talk obviously about that impact on students. Something else is also a focus on youth services and different initiatives around that. Talk to me about why that is also important in the work that you're doing to focus on that.
Well, long before I was in council, I was a youth developer and an advocate for a number of years. And, thank God I was able to get the Youth Services Committee. And under Speaker Adrienne Adams, she actually expanded my committee to include not just DYCD, but to add ACS, which is huge. And so I like to say I am the co-parent of all the babies of New York City, and all of them are under my portfolio at some place. But, just looking at how are we making sure the programs that we have are actually what the kids want. And one of the things of having ACS now under my committee, I was able to kind of see that young people are having an increased number of juvenile detention, going into secure juvenile detention centers. And so for me, it's like, well, then what are we doing on this side to prevent that? And are those things connected? And when I'm going across the city and talking to young people, they're telling me they want jobs. And so for me, my push for the city is we have to reimagine what the workforce looks like for young people. We have some of the highest numbers for unemployment for young people that we've ever seen since COVID. When we're talking about recovering from COVID, that did not recover for young people. So for me, it's thinking about what are programs that we can do to secure jobs for young people because they want to make money? How are we giving them the skills that they need to go into the workforce when they're finishing school? And what does that look like? So I'm saying moving forward, how do we reimagine a workforce? SYP is good, but that's only for 2 months. We need to think about what does it looks like to have young people employed all year long, whether that's through programs at schools like LTW, Learn to Work, or Ready to Work, which is another program that the chancellor has been doing, or looking at expanding Work, Learn, Grow, which is the year-long program that they have for SYEP students, but it's a smaller program. So how do we look at those things and expanding it so young people have those options?
Yeah, now, of course, when you talk about this long-term opportunity for them to expand, work on their skills, employment even at that, something else that I thought was a big focus on your State of the District address, and you announced and had cheers, was this focus on Public Safety Advisory Board.
Yeah.
What was the decision to create something like this and to put it in the community?
So I have had advisory board since I've taken over. This has been a legacy of the office of District 16. And public safety, like I said, is a huge issue in our community. This summer we had an increase in number of shootings in the district. We had a number of town halls throughout the districts talking about it. And I felt like people kept saying like, well, what are you going to do about it? What are the cops going to do? And I kept being like, no, 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 no. What are we going to do about it? How are we sitting down at the table to look at not only legislation, but budget items, and also each other and holding each other accountable to keep each other safe? And so it was just really important. And then even when we brought in the Cure Violence and CMS groups into the conversation, a lot of folks didn't even know what that they were there to kind of support. They didn't know that they patrol the streets. They didn't know that they're there to give like support and to mediate violence and things like that. So for me, it was like, well, then this needs to be a conversation in my office, and this needs to be led by the community to ensure that they are part of these conversations, bringing in NYPD when it's necessary, and also making sure that community members have a stake in this fight.
Yeah, now, of course, when we focus and talk about some of the wins, even the funding throughout your 3 years, some of the things that you are even planning for the community, what were some of the challenges that you did have to overcome to get these fundings, to get these initiatives underway? What was that like for you? Yeah.
I think obviously a lot of the challenges that we continue to have is that the Bronx often is overlooked, right? And so a lot of times I have to fight tooth and nail to show that this is a need and this is necessary for our district. And so when I'm at City Hall, I'm a fierce fighter. Nobody's gonna fight as hard as me. But also too, the other challenges is also getting people involved. I don't think people understand the power that they have and how when they're showing up at community meetings or when they are showing up and voting, and those things matter. One of my colleagues always says in the assembly, he always says like, you don't understand that your vote is connected to money, because when they see that there's high voter turnouts, people will move in that community. And so that's why even part of my State of the District was saying, I need you in this fight. I am one person, and that is it. But my power comes from the people. People showing up and saying that we deserve more, that we're not going to sit down and be complacent is what we need. And understanding that that is a hard ask for people who often are working multiple jobs and have children and families and all these things. But we also need to get people excited about like, this is what has to be done. We're in a political climate where you can't sit on the sidelines anymore. And so for me, I want people to get engaged and get engaged at the local level. Like that, all change starts there. And that's one of the reasons why I ran for city council was because at the local level is where the work is. I get to be in the community. I get to stand side by side, see my constituents at the grocery store, see them at the parks because I'm here. I don't, we just go down to City Hall. We're not in Albany. We're not in DC. We are here in the community. And so I want my community to fight with me and stand side by side with me.
Yeah, when you talk about that community involvement, how they can inspire change, I mean, we just wrapped up the participatory budget, especially in Council District 16. Talk to me about what impact does that make to participate in these votes and what they were even hoping to create some change in.
Listen, I love participatory budgeting. I think that it's a small step in people getting civically engaged that they didn't even know, right? Like, because so often people are coming to me with ideas and projects, and so participatory budgeting allows the community to come up what they think is necessary and want to see in the district, and then vote on getting it funded, right? And so, we've done projects from upgrading schools, we've done projects to fixing up libraries and things that really are essential in the district. And even this year, we were able to get some public safety items on there. We had parks on there, we had schools. And so it was a variety of things. And you only have to be 11 years old to vote. And so that's the other piece where it's like, young people are always saying, how can I get involved? Participatory budgeting is a way that they can get involved. They can be delegates. They can go out and help, and they can vote. And so I think that's a really important way to also get young people in the habit of voting and speaking out and being civically engaged.
Yeah, now a big point was the reflection part. And you said, if I have done this in 3 years, look what I can continue to do. And so briefly, Council Member, looking ahead, what is it that you do want to accomplish or projects that are underway that the community can look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I got some commitments from the administration around the city of Yes, which was getting a ferry study, a STEM lab, getting some home ownership in the district. And that's going to be my fight to get that done in the next 3 years or get them started before I leave and make sure that that commitment is held up to. Also looking at, like I said, the numbers for secure detention for juvenile justice, making sure we have a secure plan to get those numbers down and prevent young people from getting caught up into the system. That's going to be a big thing for me. And also just continue to fight for things in the community like more services, more mental health services, making sure that we are getting more healthy food options in the district. One of my advisory boards is the Health and Wellness Committee, and that's something we don't talk about a lot in our district, but how do we have healthy food options? What are some entertainment things that we can do together, which is why we're always hosting like family events. We have some skate nights coming up. We're going to be having a Juneteenth line dance party at Joyce Kilmore Park and a family day. And so there's all these things that we're trying to do to get people engaged, because that's also a part of being healthy and having activities for the community.
Definitely, and I know we will definitely stay tuned to that. Thank you again, Council Member, for being here with us.
Absolutely, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Now, to learn more about the efforts being made by Council Member Althea Stevens, please visit her website, which is on the screen below. Stay tuned, we have much more open for you right after this.